You walk in tired and hungry, one bad dinner away from losing it. You don't like to cook. You don't want more takeout. You just want something good. That's why there's Dish by Blue Apron. Pre-made meals with at least 20 grams of protein and no artificial flavors or colors. From fridge to fork in 5 minutes or less. Keep the flavor. Ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Amazon presents Laura versus Fruit Flies. Hide your bananas. These winged demons came to your kitchen to do 2 things. Eat fruit and they're all out of fruit. But thankfully, Laura shopped on Amazon and saved on cleaning spray, countertop wipes, and fly traps. Hey, fruit flies, your baby boom ends here. Save the everyday with Amazon.
All right, we're back. This is WGCK AM 1090, always on, always talking. If you're just joining us or if you've just had a brush with the infinite, you missed last hour's discussion on whether intuition counts as evidence. And for the record, no, but it does explain a lot. It's just after midnight. I'm Marianne Caldwell. This is the Night Signal. Let's go to the phones. I've got Denise holding on line 1. Denise, thanks for waiting.
Thank you for taking my call, Marianne. I almost didn't make it.
That happens more often than you think. What's going on?
I died.
All right.
Clinically, briefly, but I was definitively dead.
Okay.
I was driving home from work, left turn, red light, someone ran it. Next thing I know, there's this pressure, not pain, just pressure, and then I'm somewhere else.
Did you see a light?
Yes, but not that kind.
Go on.
It was fluorescent, overhead, slightly buzzing, and the first thing I noticed was that the floor had arrows.
Arrows?
Yes, blue arrows, very clear, very laminated.
Naturally.
I followed them because there was a sign that said new arrivals with a clipboard icon.
Of course there was.
That's when I realized I wasn't alone. There were other people, standing quiet, some sitting in molded plastic chairs. One man had been there long enough to read a pamphlet all the way through twice.
That's never a good sign.
No, it wasn't. And there was a counter, frosted glass, numbered windows. I was directed to window 7.
Directed how?
A woman in a cardigan called my name, full name, maiden name included.
Impressive.
She handed me a packet.
A packet?
Very thick. She said, please fill this out completely and return it to the desk when finished.
And did you?
I tried.
Tried?
Some of the questions were unclear, like, have you ever knowingly ignored an obvious sign? And there wasn't enough room to explain.
There never is.
Then there was Form C12.
What was that for?
Cause of death clarification.
I see.
They said it had to be signed in triplicate.
Of course they did.
I asked where to get copies. They said window 3. Window 3 said I needed a stamp from window 5. Window 5 was closed for lunch.
Even in the afterlife.
Especially in the afterlife.
So what happened?
Eventually a man came out, no name tag, just a tie, and said there'd been a mistake.
A mistake?
Yes, he said my paperwork was incomplete. I'd initialed the wrong box on page 9.
That happens.
He said, we can't process you without this, and I said, can I fix it? And he said, not here.
And then?
Then I woke up in the ambulance.
So you got kicked out of the afterlife.
Because I failed to sign Form C12 in triplicate.
Denise?
Yes?
How are you feeling now?
Confused and honestly a little stressed.
That tracks.
I keep thinking, what if I don't get another chance to fix it?
Denise, if there's one thing I can assure you of,
Yes?
it's that they'll let you know.
That's what worries me.
I understand. Thank you for the call.
Thank you for listening.
All right, well, that was a lot. I've got another caller who's been holding different experience, still very much alive, at least at the moment. Sean, you're on the Night Signal. Go ahead.
Hi, Marianne. My name's Sean. Thanks for taking the call.
You're welcome, Sean. What's going on?
I live in a subdivision just outside town, backed up against a small forest preserve, protected land, walking trails, informational signs no one reads.
All right.
And for the past few months, something's been coming out of the woods at night.
Something specific?
Very.
Go on.
It's tall, it's covered in hair, and it does not understand backyard fences.
Sean, I'm going to ask you the question I ask everyone at this point.
Okay.
Are you calling about Bigfoot?
Yes, but not in the way people think.
When are they ever?
He's not aggressive, he's not threatening, he just keeps ending up in the same cul-de-sac and nobody knows what to do about it.
That sounds inconvenient.
It is, especially for him.
All right, Sean, start from the beginning.
Tonight's meal, tilapia surprise with boiled cabbage. Begin cooking steps 1 through 50 now.
Are you kidding me? Making dinner shouldn't feel like doing a 1,000-piece puzzle. With Blue Apron's new one-pan assemble and bake meals, the hard part's already done. Pre-chopped ingredients, zero stress. Just assemble, bake, and enjoy. No complicated steps, no mountain of dishes. Try Assemble and Bake today. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Discover a legacy of excellence in the heart of Washington, D.C. At the Catholic University of America, where more than 130 years of graduate education meet innovation and purpose. Choose from over 100 graduate programs, including business, engineering, nursing, and public policy, all led by world-class faculty. Gain the skills, connections, and confidence to lead in your field. It's time to elevate your future. Learn more at catholic.edu/graduate.
Sean lived in the subdivision because it backed up against a forest preserve. This had seemed like a selling point at the time. The preserve was small, legally protected, and largely ignored. It had a few walking trails with informational signs that no one read anymore, and a stand of trees dense enough to make the houses at the edge feel less exposed. Sean liked that. It made the neighborhood quieter. It made the air feel different. The subdivision itself was new enough to still believe in itself. Streets curved gently, sidewalks ended where they were supposed to, fences were uniform in height and color, and anything that wasn't had been approved by the HOA after a brief but earnest discussion. Motion lights came standard. Trash cans were issued. Everything had a place. Nothing larger than a deer had been accounted for. The first night Sean noticed something, he didn't call anyone. He was taking out the trash when the motion light came on, not unusual in itself, except that it came on all at once, as if something had crossed the yard in a single step. Sean froze, trash bag in hand, and waited. Nothing happened. He set the trash down more carefully than necessary and went back inside. The next morning, his neighbor Karen caught him at the mailbox. "Did you hear something last night?" she asked. Sean considered the question. "Define something." "Like heavy?" she said. "Not loud, just present." Sean nodded. "I heard something too." "Well, it's probably deer," Karen said immediately. "Probably," Sean agreed. That afternoon, someone posted in the neighborhood group chat, "Has anyone else noticed their motion lights acting weird?" There were 6 replies within 10 minutes, all variations on yes, followed by a reassuring amount of speculation about raccoons. The first clear sighting happened a week later. Sean was in the kitchen when the light behind the house came on again. This time it stayed on. Sean walked to the window and looked out. Something tall stood near the edge of the yard. It was covered in hair. Dark, uneven, tall enough that the motion light hit its chest instead of its face. It did not move. It did not advance. It did not retreat. Sean stood there for a long moment, waiting for his brain to supply a better explanation. "Okay," he said aloud, to no one in particular. The figure shifted slightly, as if startled by the sound, then froze again. Sean stepped back from the window and locked the door. The next morning he found his neighbor Mark standing at the fence line, staring into the preserve. "You see it too?" Mark asked without turning around. "See what?" Sean said. Mark looked at him. "I'm not saying it first." Sean sighed. "It was tall." "Hairy?" "Yes." Mark nodded. "Okay, good. I thought I was having a stroke." They stood there quietly for a moment. "It didn't do anything," Sean said. "No," Mark agreed. "That was the weird part." By the end of the week, more people had seen it. Always at night, always near the same stretch of woods, always confused. Someone suggested calling animal control. Someone else pointed out that animal control did not have a category for that. The HOA sent out an email reminding residents not to approach wildlife. No one replied to that email. At that point, the subdivision still believed this was temporary. Sean wasn't so sure. The next time Sean saw it, it was standing in Mr. Donnelly's yard, staring at a fence. This was new. The fence was decorative, white vinyl, waist-high, installed more for suggestion than security. It did not block the preserve. It did not protect anything. It existed because the HOA preferred boundaries that could be seen without being taken seriously. Bigfoot appeared to be taking it very seriously. Sean watched from his back window as the figure stepped forward, stopped, stepped back, then tried again at a slightly different angle. It leaned down, examined the fence as if expecting it to explain itself, then straightened and looked around. The motion light came on. Bigfoot froze. Sean sighed. "You're gonna hate this place," he said quietly. By morning, the fence was still standing, but Mrs. Donnelly's lawn furniture was not where she had left it. Nothing was broken, nothing was missing. It had simply been rearranged into a configuration that suggested an attempt at reorganization had been made. At the mailbox, Mrs. Donnelly was already talking. "It didn't take anything," she said to no one in particular. "That's what I don't understand." Karen nodded sympathetically. "Well, animals don't usually take things." "This one sat in my chair," Mrs. Donnelly said. Mark looked up. "Your good chair?" "My good chair." Sean cleared his throat. "Did it seem aggressive?" "No," Mrs. Donnelly said. "Just unsure." That became the word everyone used. Bigfoot was unsure about sliding glass doors. He approached them cautiously, leaned close enough to fog the glass, then jumped back when his reflection startled him. He did not understand trampolines. He tested one once, bounced exactly one time, and never went near it again. Trash cans were a recurring problem. Bigfoot knocked them over consistently, but without malice, as if surprised each time that they contained anything at all. He examined the contents briefly, then moved on, leaving the cans tipped but intact. The neighborhood group chat became more active. "Has anyone else's trash been inspected? We need to talk about the preserve. This is not normal wildlife behavior." Sean typed 3 different responses and deleted all of them. One night, Bigfoot made it all the way into the cul-de-sac. This was, objectively, a mistake. The cul-de-sac had no trees, no shadows, just evenly spaced houses, identical driveways, and too many motion lights. When Bigfoot stepped into it, the lights came on in sequence, one after another, like a polite but firm announcement. Bigfoot stopped in the center of the street. Sean watched from his window, saw the moment of realization cross its posture. This place did not lead anywhere. There was no exit, no cover, no explanation. Bigfoot turned slowly in a full circle, then looked back the way it had come. Every house was awake. Sean heard someone whisper, "Oh no!" from a nearby porch. Bigfoot took one careful step toward the only gap between fences that still existed. Sean held his breath. Bigfoot made it out. The next morning, the HOA sent an email reminding residents to ensure all fences were properly secured. No one replied, but several people quietly adjusted their gates. After the 3rd time, no one called it a coincidence. Sean realized this when Mark knocked on his door holding a printout. "I paused the footage," Mark said, skipping any greeting, "frame by frame." Sean took the paper. It was a still image from a doorbell camera, grainy, slightly overexposed, but unmistakable. A tall shape at the edge of the frame, hair catching the light. One arm mid-swing, as if the rest of the body had been caught in the middle of a decision. Same night? Sean asked. Same night, Mark said. Same time, give or take 10 minutes. They compared notes, quietly at first, then with growing interest. Motion light logs, camera timestamps, neighbors who insisted they hadn't seen anything but admitted they'd slept poorly. It always came from the same section of the preserve. It always crossed through the same 2 yards, and it always ended up in the same cul-de-sac. It's like it forgets, Karen said later, standing with a small group near the mailboxes, every time. Or like it remembers something that isn't there anymore, Mrs. Donnelly replied. They all looked toward the preserve. Sean started walking the trails during the day, not with any particular goal, just to understand the layout from the other side. The paths curved gently, following lines that felt intentional even after decades of neglect. In a few places, the trail dead-ended abruptly at the back of the subdivision where fences now stood. He could see it then. The preserve paths used to continue, not formally but naturally. What had once been open had become segmented, rerouted, stopped short by vinyl fencing and tasteful landscaping. At night, Bigfoot followed the old paths. At night, the subdivision became a maze. Once Sean said that out loud, it was hard not to see it everywhere. "He's not wandering," Mark said. "He's commuting." "No," Karen corrected. "He's lost." The HOA sent out another email. This one mentioned repeated wildlife incursions and reminded residents to refrain from feeding animals. It suggested securing trash cans and repairing fence gaps. It did not ask why the gaps existed in the first place. By now, no one needed to be told when Bigfoot was coming. People woke up before the lights came on. Porch curtains shifted. Someone always whispered first. And then the lights would trigger, one after another, announcing Bigfoot's arrival as reliably as a clock. The creature never varied its route. Sean found that oddly comforting. If it was lost, at least it was lost the same way every time. The email went out on a Thursday afternoon. The subject line read, "Special Meeting, Wildlife Concerns." Sean read it twice, then a third time, looking for any indication that someone had finally decided to say the word out loud. They had not. The meeting was scheduled for Sunday evening in the community room, a space usually reserved for budget reviews and holiday decoration guidelines. Folding chairs were set up in neat rows. A tray of cookies sat untouched on a side table, as if everyone understood this was not a night for casual snacking. The HOA president, a man named Greg, who wore authority the way he wore his windbreaker, lightly but insistently, cleared his throat. "Thank you all for coming," Greg said. "This is about a recent activity." No one asked what kind. A slide appeared on the screen behind him. It showed a still image from a doorbell camera, carefully cropped and aggressively blurred. "As you can see," Greg continued, "there have been some incursions from the preserve." Someone raised a hand. "Is that—" Greg held up a finger. "Let's stick to neutral terminology." There was a murmur of agreement. The discussion proceeded cautiously. Phrases were chosen with care. Large mammal, non-resident presence, edge-of-property navigation issue. Sean watched his neighbors talk around the problem in widening circles, each of them clearly aware of what they were avoiding. When someone said predator, 3 people shook their heads at once. "He hasn't hurt anything," Mrs. Donnelly said. "He sat in my chair." Greg nodded solemnly. "That's been noted." Karen asked whether animal control could help. "Animal control has limits," Greg replied. "Also categories." The city liaison, who'd been invited but looked deeply regretful about it, leaned into the microphone. "There is no protocol," she said, "for this." No one challenged her. Halfway through the meeting, someone pointed toward the window. Sean didn't need to look to know what they were seeing. Bigfoot stood just inside the tree line, partially obscured by branches, exactly where he always appeared. The motion light hadn't caught him, yet, but the shape was unmistakable. He was still, patient, watching a room full of people try very hard not to notice him. The room went quiet. Greg cleared his throat again. "All right, so moving forward." The solutions proposed were modest. Adjusting motion lights, reinforcing some fences, leaving others flexible. No vote was taken on the last point. It simply appeared in the meeting notes as ongoing consideration. When the meeting ended, no one lingered. The cookies remained untouched. Outside, the motion light finally came on. Bigfoot froze, then turned slowly back toward the preserve. Sean watched him go and thought, not for the first time, that the neighborhood had mistaken politeness for a plan. Nothing was ever announced. There was no follow-up email, no revised guidelines, no official acknowledgement that anything discussed at the meeting required action. And yet over the next few weeks the subdivision began to change. Gates that had always been kept latched were suddenly left slightly ajar. Motion lights that once snapped on at the slightest movement were adjusted to trigger later or not at all. A fence panel behind Mark's house developed a gap just wide enough to suggest it had always been that way. Sean noticed these things because he was looking for them. He also noticed what no longer happened. Trash cans stayed upright. Lawn furniture remained where it had been left. The cul-de-sac stopped lighting up all at once in the middle of the night. When Bigfoot came through, and he still did, though less often, his movements were faster, more decisive. He no longer paused at fences or tested doors. He passed through with the confidence of someone who had memorized a route. One night Sean heard footsteps behind the house and stepped onto the porch in time to see Bigfoot slip through the gap in the fence and disappear into the preserve without incident. "Good," Sean said quietly to no one. The group chat changed tone. Messages that once asked questions now made statements. "Left the gate open again. Lights adjusted. He came through around 11. No problems." Someone posted a reminder not to leave fruit out. No one asked why that reminder was necessary. Sean realized he was no longer tense when he heard the sounds at night. He still woke up, but now it felt less like an alarm and more like awareness. The neighborhood had learned something, not about Bigfoot exactly, but about itself. They had stopped trying to control the situation. They had started accommodating it. And that, Sean suspected, was why it was finally working. Sean saw Bigfoot up close only once. It happened late, well after midnight, on a night when the neighborhood was quiet in a way that felt deliberate. Sean had woken without knowing why and lay still for a moment, listening. There were footsteps, slow and careful, moving along the familiar path behind the house. Sean stepped onto the porch. Bigfoot was already there, just beyond the fence line, standing in the narrow corridor the neighborhood had quietly agreed to leave open. He was closer than Sean had ever seen him, close enough to notice the unevenness of the hair, the way his shoulders sloped slightly forward, as if he were used to ducking without knowing why. They both stopped. Bigfoot turned his head and looked at Sean. Not with surprise and not with threat. The look had weight to it, but no urgency. It carried the unmistakable sense of someone who had taken a wrong turn too many times and was relieved finally to recognize a landmark. Sean raised a hand, halfway, then let it fall. "Yeah," he said softly, "I know." Bigfoot did not respond. He didn't need to. After a moment, he stepped through the gap and continued on, his movements steady and sure. The preserve swallowed him up without sound. Sean went back inside and locked the door, more out of habit than necessity. After that, the visits became less frequent. Bigfoot still lived in the preserve. Sean was certain of that. but he no longer wandered into the subdivision the way he once had. When he did appear, it was brief and purposeful. The route worked now. The exits were clear. There was no confusion left to sort through. The neighborhood returned to itself. The HOA sent an email about fall decorations. Someone complained about a basketball hoop left out overnight. Mrs. Donnelly got a new chair and made a point of mentioning how comfortable it was. No one talked about the preserve. Sean still walked the trails sometimes. He noticed where the old paths curved away from the fences, where the ground had been worn smooth by long use. He thought about how easily things were interrupted and how quietly they could be restored if enough people agreed not to make a point of it. On certain nights, when the air was right, Sean imagined he could hear movement deeper in the woods, something large and careful, moving with confidence now. He never followed the sound. Some problems didn't need solving. They just needed room. And if Bigfoot ever did wander back into the subdivision again, Sean was certain of one thing. He wouldn't get stuck.
At the UPS Store, we have the key to unlock the world of possibilities because we'll sign for your packages and protect them from porch pirates. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable. Come into your local store today.
Thank you for the call, Sean. For anyone listening tonight who lives near a forest preserve, a vacant lot, or a stretch of land that predates your mortgage, this is your reminder that not everything is lost. Some things are just displaced. If you find yourself dealing with a problem that doesn't fit the available categories, I recommend fewer meetings and wider exits. This is The Night Signal, WGCK AM 1090, always on, always talking. We'll be back after the break.